On today's Padone My Take, we're going to talk about some Browns trade rumors with the Odell injury that just plagued the team. Adam Thielen, Anthony Harris, Minnesota Vikings. A lot of rumors out there in the Browns universe. We're going to tackle all of that. We're going to prepare you for the Browns game against the Vegas Raiders. So hard to not call them the Oakland Raiders on this show, but we're going to try our best there. We're going to whip around week 8 of the NFL season. That's going to be a whole lot of fun as well. Just get into all the trends and all my takes throughout the world of sports. Let's do it. But first, today's Padone My Take is brought to you by my friends over at dugoutmugs.com. The World Series of Baseball is over with, and the Los Angeles Dodgers are World Series champions. My guys at Dugout Mugs are here to help you celebrate the MLB offseason. Even if you hate the Dodgers, visit dugoutmugs.com/Padone, and you're going to get a free Cleveland Indians knob shot. They take the knob of a baseball bat, cut it off, hollow out the inside. Perfect shot glass to use as we watch the Indians tackle this offseason. While you're there, check out all the great beer mugs just like this one and shortstop whiskey glasses to watch your favorite team ace this offseason. These bat mugs are perfect early holiday present for any and all baseball fans. Get your free knob shot today. The best way to do that is go to dugoutmugs.com/Padone. That's dugoutmugs.com/my last name, Padone. So how about that World Series last night, huh? I'd feel remiss if we didn't begin talking about that. Justin Turner, LA Dodgers, they win the World Series, and it's announced immediately after the game before the trophy presentation that Justin Turner, the Dodgers' third baseman, tested positive for the coronavirus during the game. He was obviously pulled from the game out of abundance of caution because he had tested positive during the middle of the game. I don't know, how is that possible? Major League Baseball, how do you let that happen where a guy is in the game and then tests positive? How? As I was watching the trophy presentation, as I watched Corey Seager get the World Series MVP, as I watched the weird rehearsed speech by the owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers, I've never before witnessed an owner, after winning a championship, a general manager, a player, or anything, pull out a rehearsed speech on a piece of paper and just read off of it verbatim. Like, imagine in 2016, if LeBron wins the championship and he's on the floor crying and he's hugging Kyrie and Mo Williams is there too. Doris comes up to him with the microphone and he says, "Hold on, Doris," and he goes into his pocket and pulls out a speech. Like, it was so weird. It lacked emotion. But as I'm watching it all, I'm thinking to myself, the Indians are so far away from this moment. The Indians' offense is anemic. Imagine what that Dodgers pitching would have done to the Tribe. And I know the comments are going to flood. And as always, you could drop a comment. You could tweet the show at Padone My Take. You could tweet me on Twitter, of course, at NickPadone12 and say, "Nick, the Dodgers have one of the highest payrolls in the Major League Baseball. You know, they pay everybody. That was a bought championship. That wasn't earned. That was bought." I hear you. They're number 2 in payroll this season. That doesn't happen by mistake. The Dodgers spend a ton of money, whereas the Indians are way below the league average. The league average is around 17, so the Diamondbacks are just above, the Reds just below, and the Indians down at $34 million. That's 24th in the league. Well, even lower than that is the Tampa Bay Rays at 28. So your Tribe is at 24. The Rays are at 28. The Rays were able to make that a World Series. They took the Dodgers to 6 games, and it was just so frustrating for me as a Tribe fan because it just feels like my Cleveland Indians are so far away from that point. But that's not the point of this show. I don't want to get too down on everything because our Cleveland Browns are 5-2. The Tribe might trade Lindor. They're going to trade Santana, Brad Hand. But that's not what we're here to talk about, folks. Our football team, the heartbeat of this town, is 5-2. I learned something once, about Cleveland, and this holds so true. People want to talk about the Browns all the time, whether it's about backup quarterbacks, whether it's about the draft, even a month before free agency. People want to talk about the Browns year round. It's a Browns town. People want to talk about the Cavs and the Tribe when they're good, when they're relevant, when things are really happening and really exciting. But the Browns, people have talked about the Browns all year long. We saw that with 0-16. We're in the middle of Browns year. They're 5-2. Let's talk about Sunday. Because, boy, we have a franchise quarterback. And if you've watched Padone My Take before, you'll know that I told you guys going into this game to not give up on Baker Mayfield. I said, matter of fact, that you'd be foolish to give up on Baker Mayfield at this point, just because he's shown us enough that of being the guy to prove that he's the guy moving forward. He makes the big throws. I know it's a run-first offense, but Baker has done enough, in my opinion, for me to be like, okay, this is the dude that I'm confident in making the throws and the decisions for this team moving forward. This is why you have to stick behind the guy that you picked number 1 overall in the draft. It was silly that we were chanting for Keenum. It was silly that we were abandoning ship on Baker Mayfield. But now's the tough part of the show, and I know the part that a lot of you guys clicked on the show is the OBJ stuff. Let's have a chat. Let's have a talk. I feel like, and obviously probably looking at my face, you know that I'm not a dad. But I feel like this is what this moment is going to be like in my life when I am a dad, where I sit my son down on the couch, on the bed, or daughter, and say, we have to have a talk. And that's what I want to do with you folks tonight about Odell Beckham Jr. We need to have a chat. So let's talk about the facts. Let's keep talking about Baker Mayfield, because that's the positive, that's the good, and that's the fun of this week's show. And it all ties together. So just bear with me. Please bear with me, and you're going to understand where I'm going with this. You drafted Baker Mayfield number 1 overall based off of what? His accuracy? Sure. His arm strength? Absolutely. Those things were there. But why'd you draft Baker Mayfield over number 1 overall if you were John Dorsey? If you were Hugh Jackson and that regime? What did you see in Baker Mayfield? It was the winning. It was the confidence. It was the moxie that Baker Mayfield brought to a football team. That's why we drafted Baker number 1 overall. That's what earned him that selection that only one guy every year is able to say that they were the number 1 pick. Confidence, moxie, swagger. Remember that. Leadership. I would throw that word in there as well. Remember those words. Well, this season, in the losses to Baltimore, in the losses to Pittsburgh, even, if we want to peek behind the curtain of last year's troubles, New England Patriots, some of the tough, difficult losses that the Browns endured, Baker didn't look confident at all. It seemed like the confidence was shaken, and it seemed like he turned the swaggerous shield that was Baker Mayfield into a defense mechanism. It seemed like he was looking to, in press conferences, take jabs at people and was defensive all the time. Versus Cincy this week, he got that confidence back. He's 5-1 against them all time. That's the facts about Baker Mayfield that we know. About your franchise quarterback that this organization invested a number 1 overall draft pick in. Those are our facts right here. And in my opinion, when we start to factor in the Odell Beckham Jr. stuff, and we're not going to have the conversation today, are the Browns better without Odell Beckham Jr.? No, that's not what I'm trying to say. The Browns are not better without 13 on the field. Period. His talent speaks for itself. The command that he requires by opposing defenses speaks for itself. The Browns are not better today or ever without Odell Beckham Jr. in uniform. But Baker said it best today. And saying that the Browns are better off with Odell is just insensitive. So we're not going to do that. But what we're seeing with Odell Beckham Jr. and Baker Mayfield is the same thing that we were talking about last year with Freddie Kitchens and John Dorsey and Todd Monken, Drew Stanton, the quarterback's coach. That this is where it all went to hell, is there was too many cooks in the kitchen. Now, publicly, Odell Beckham Jr. has been a model teammate in Cleveland. I'm not arguing that, and I would dispute anyone till the cows come home about Odell not being a model teammate. He hasn't publicly thrown a fit. Obviously, he shows frustration on the sideline. That's with the performance on the field. The come get me stuff was fabricated. That was dismissed really quick. Odell's been a solid teammate. But behind closed doors, something was up. In the huddle, something was up. Odell was never publicly disgruntled. He never said anything in press conferences. He never went to the media and showed his dissatisfaction with what was going on that way, about targets, about losing. That wasn't anything. But in the huddle, behind closed doors, something was up. Odell was getting targets. They were just bad targets. In football, in an offensive huddle, there needs to be one alpha male. And the alpha male needs to be the quarterback. You drafted Baker Mayfield because he has those alpha male traits, something that quarterbacks in Cleveland haven't had for a really long time. So when you have an alpha male in the huddle, that's the guy that needs to be commanding everyone else. Well, in Cleveland, with Beckham, by no fault of his own, there were two alpha males in that huddle, and one of them was the quarterback, but the other one was an aging receiver. Odell Beckham Jr. makes a ton of cash, and Baker Mayfield knows that. You don't think that creeps in the back of Baker's head? Like, hey, you don't think that's an unwritten, pressure that, hey, Odell Beckham Jr. is in Cleveland, and he makes a lot of dough. I need to get this guy involved because he eats up a lot of our cap. He's what this organization has invested in. All of this going through Baker's head, the pressure to get him targets, the contract, constantly going through his head when he needs to be making good reads and going through his progressions. None of that happens because of the pressure that Odell inadvertently puts on. Again, I'm not saying the Browns are better off without Odell Beckham Jr., but what I'm saying is when Odell did go down, that was the best Baker that I've seen since 2018. That was the best Baker that I've seen since the rookie touchdown record was broken. Rhythm, timing, accuracy, it was all on display and it was all on point. And I just feel in my heart of hearts that what it boils down to is Baker was worrying about those targets. It was everything that we heard coming out of New York was wrong. Odell ain't a bad teammate. That's not the case. Odell is a phenomenal football player when healthy. He's not a bad teammate. He doesn't take things to the media. He doesn't whine and cry like we were told he was going to. None of that is the case. But what the case is, and I want to hear from you by dropping a comment below, by tweeting me at NickPadone12 or the show at PadoneMyTake, is that there were two alpha males in that huddle, in Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr., and Baker felt that pressure to get the number one receiver involved. Baker has had success throughout his career with number one receivers. D.D. Westbrook was a name at Oklahoma. I know he hasn't amounted to much in the National Football League. Baker played well with him. Marquise Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews, household names for the division rival Baltimore Ravens. Baker was good with those dudes at Oklahoma. CeeDee Lamb, Baker had a season with him at Oklahoma. Baker is capable of playing with guys that are number one receiver caliber and that have number one receiver talent. But what I'm saying is the extra voice and the extra pressure that Odell Beckham Jr. puts onto a quarterback was too much for Baker to handle. And then you factor in everything else, right? We haven't even factored in the fact that this is his fourth head coach, in as many years in the league. He had Hugh Jackson, he had Greg Williams, he had Freddie Kitchens, he has Kevin Stefanski in a brand new offense with some brand new footwork. Then you throw in the added pressure of this is a make it or break it year. We hear all of that, trying to get the fifth year option. Throw Odell and the pressure that he brings to be that mega superstar receiver. That's where things went to hell with Baker. That's why he looked bad. That's why we were writing him off and chasing him out of town. And this isn't Odell's fault. The Browns aren't a better team without Odell. And those two things, that's what I so badly want everyone to take away from today's show, from today's episode, is that those two things can coexist. It's fine for Odell in this hand to be an extremely talented, great wide receiver one. and command defenses and make life easier on the other receivers. That's what he is. That's who he is. That's perfectly fine. Well, on this hand, it's also perfectly fine for that pressure, that needingness to get Odell Beckham Jr. going, to overcome things like playing football the right way, playing the quarterback position the right way, moving through your progressions, finding the open player. When Odell went down, and I know the Twitterverse, myself included, was begging to see Rashard Higgins on the field. It was a mystery dating back to Freddie Kitchens why we weren't seeing any of Rashard Higgins. But when OBJ goes down and Higgins comes in, Baker's hitting him in rhythm, in stride. The balls looked more accurate. It's amazing what happens to me. And I would love to ask Baker about this years down the road, because he's not going to confess to any of this right now. They tried to get him to talk about it today when he met with the media in Berea, via Zoom. I would love to ask Baker, with Odell out there, does that change how you go through your reads? And I bet the answer is yes. I bet the first guy that he's looking at, even if it's just for a quick peripheral glance, is Odell Beckham Jr. And that's fine. I'm not mad at Baker about that. I feel as if that's natural. That's the guy that he should be looking at. That's the guy that makes $16-17 million that you traded a 1, a 3, and Jabril Peppers for. I'm wearing my 13 jersey right here on the show tonight. I'm by no stretch of the imagination happy that this happened to Odell Beckham Jr. I'm devastated, and I'm concerned as to what this means for the rest of the defense. I mean, for the rest of the offense and the rest of the receivers and their ability to get open. But man, people will have a really strong, a really loud, and almost a really annoying voice if Baker continually improves like what we saw on Sunday without Odell Beckham Jr. for the Browns. And that's our talk. I think we got that off of our chest. The Browns aren't a better team without Odell. However, Baker Mayfield, he might be a better quarterback mentally without Odell. It's one of those things in sports that's unexplainable. And it's one of those things in sports where your eyes aren't lying to you, right? Because we've watched these games as fans. And we're like, okay, Baker's missing Odell high. He's overthrowing guys. He's leaving the ball behind Odell. They were never on the same page, just as fans, on Twitter, watching the games together, with your friends. It's like these two dudes are on a completely different page. It looks like they're playing together for the first time. And they had an entire season together last year where Odell was healthy enough to appear in all of those games and a handful of games this year. Folks, all I have to say is your eyes are not deceiving you when you have the numbers to back it up. And those numbers, you saw them this week. I don't want to bore you. The completion percentage is better by Baker Mayfield by about 20% when he targets other receivers. The yards per attempt are better when he's targeting other receivers than Beckham. And his passer rating, which is a huge deal when evaluating quarterbacks, that's a hell of a lot better when he's not targeting OBJ. So your eyes aren't lying to you because you got the numbers to back it up. Now, what's interesting to me when we look at all of this is we know that the Browns have one of the easiest upcoming schedules. And that's something to be excited about, right? As a Browns fan, means wins are going to happen, means your offense is going to look good. The defense and some of the deficiencies there might be surprised. We're going to be able to celebrate some more Victory Mondays. That's a good thing. You got 9 games remaining in this football season, and I think these 9 games are going to be one hell of an indicator for this front office, this coaching staff, to evaluate what this offense is going to be looking like moving forward. We know they have a lot of their hands tied up with Odell Beckham Jr., with Jarvis Landry. Those two are very talented. Those two were brought here to help Baker Mayfield progress as 2 of the elite receivers in the game. But if Baker starts playing well and improving in these 9 games without OBJ, if I'm Andrew Berry, if I'm Kevin Stefanski, I have to think about turning the page on Odell Beckham Jr. Interesting. It's going to be a really interesting 9 games to see what happens with this football team, really against some inferior talent. So I'm looking forward to seeing all that and how it unfolds. If you're just joining us, I hope you enjoyed the show thus far. If it's your first time joining the show, make sure to smash that follow button at Padone My Take, at Nick Padone 12. We're going to talk some more Browns. We got to take a quick refresher, though. But when we come back, there's been some rumors. Can I interest you in Adam Thielen? Are we feeling good in Cleveland? While we take this break, I want you guys to tweet the show at Nick Padone 12, at Padone My Take. Have a question, drop it down below in those comments. If the Browns were to make a trade for a receiver, who do you want? Do you want Adam Thielen? And how much are you going to give up? I'm going to tell you what I know about that situation right after this. We'll be back in 60 seconds, folks. Don't go anywhere. Alrighty. Welcome back in Padone My Take, BigPlay.com. As promised, that was going to be a quick reload, a quick recharge. Hope you enjoyed it. You also saw the messaging, man. Dugoutmugs.com/Padone. That's where to go to get this free knob shot to your door. All you have to do is pay that shipping and handling. And my guys at Dugout Mugs are hooking it up. They're going to send you one to your house for free if you pay that shipping and handling at dugoutmugs.com/Padone. So before the break, we previewed the Adam Thielen rumors because those are a thing. That's happening in Cleveland. No, folks, that's not happening. And I don't want to be the Debbie Downer on the situation. I don't think the Browns are getting Adam Thielen. And I hope I'm wrong. I think Adam Thielen is a phenomenal talent. I would love to have him on the Browns. If you would love to have him, go ahead and drop a comment below at Padone My Take. I just think that the price that the Minnesota Vikings are looking for are going to be too high. And I believe the tweets that we've seen this week are probably accurate. I believe that, the Minnesota Vikings and the Cleveland Browns have had discussions to bring Adam Thielen to Cleveland, but the trade deadline is coming up. And I just don't think there's enough substance for that to materialize. And I don't think the Browns need it to happen. I don't think this is a time where the Browns need to rush into another WR1, wide receiver 1 situation because of what I just told you guys in the last segment of the show. I want to see how Baker Mayfield does with the quote-unquote bottom of the barrel. I want to see how he does with Donovan Peoples-Jones, who is a 6th-round rookie. I want to see what he does with Rashard Higgins, who is in Freddie Kitchens' doghouse for some unforeseeable, unknowable reason for so long. I want to see how Baker does with these guys. I don't think they're looking to tie over $50 million in cap space of Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., and Adam Thielen into that receiver room. It would be cool. It would be a lot of fun. I know. I just don't think that's bound to happen. I do think the Browns are going to do everything in their possible, arsenal to make the OBJ and Landry thing still work. You still have both of those guys under your control. There is no immediate need to get rid of Odell and Landry, which is why I think the Adam Thielen rumors are just that. And Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski, those guys are just doing their due diligence of kicking the tires on a guy that has chemistry with Kevin Stefanski. He's played in the Gary Kubiak system, and I think that's a good thing. For you wide receiver heads, though, I do want to give you guys a little bit of a nugget of things to look forward to as this deadline happens here, in the next couple days through November 3rd when the deadline is. So for you wide receiver heads, wide receiver lovers, you guys need to be on the lookout for receivers that are on expiring contracts and guys that are unlikely to return with their designated team. So Adam Thielen's contract is not expiring. He makes a good chunk of change. Even though the Vikings look really bad and they look like they're in a position to sell, they got a good cast of characters around. They might be a quarterback away from making a splash right into those playoffs. They're not going to be looking to get rid of Adam Thielen for no reason at all. But for your receiver heads, some names that I want you to be on the lookout for. How about Brashard Perriman? I think that's a guy that played with Baker Mayfield before. For some reason, fell out of the league, as we have a comment that says, Nolan Toth says, keep Landry. I agree with you, brother. We got to keep Jarvis Landry in Cleveland. But look at Brashard Perriman, right? That's a guy that you could get for a 6th or 7th round pick. That's a guy that has chemistry and a rapport with the quarterback, with Baker Mayfield. And I think you could easily plug and play him back in Cleveland, use him as a little bit of a decoy on the long ball. He hasn't had sustained success. He was a 1st round pick by Baltimore. He busted there. He was really pretty bad there, if we're being completely honest. And then he came to Cleveland and balled out. Obviously, he wasn't brought back by the Browns and picked up by the Jets, and he really hasn't done anything there. The Jets have not given him any kind of help. They're in a little bit of a dumpster fire themselves there. But Brashard Perriman, I think that's a name that you could possibly poke away from the Jets for a 6th, a 7th round pick. Here's something I want to talk about, guys. The Browns have 9 draft picks coming up in this draft. And this is a team that we're all excited and we're all hopeful that's going to make the playoffs, that's going to make a run. The Browns are going to be a competitive team. You don't need to have 9 rookies coming into Bria for training camp next season. I'm sorry, and I'm a draft junkie. I love the draft. I willingly sit in front of my TV for 3 straight days like a slob and absorb the draft. But you don't need 9 rookies on this roster. I want to see them take these 9 draft picks that they have and deal them away, because there's assets out there. We talk about receivers that are on expiring deals. Those are the guys that the Browns need to target that are unlikely to return with their current team. How about this one? How about in division? John Ross, that's a guy with the Bengals that's getting a lot of run. He doesn't play anymore. He was a top 10 pick by Cincinnati. How about this one? How about AJ Green? He has not gelled too well with Joe Burrow. He's expecting a bag this offseason. How about you send him here for a patch-up job, to fill the void of OBJ in an ACL season with AJ Green? That to me is a promising and likely target, not Adam Thielen, just because of that price point that exists with Adam Thielen. Here's another big name, I think a little bit too big for the Browns to target. I also think if you're this team, you need to capitalize on what you get in return for this guy, because other than this guy, your organization doesn't have a lot good going for it. And that's Will Fuller and the Houston Texans. I would be interested to see if the Browns and the Texans can capitalize, and I wonder if Houston, they fired their head coach, Bob, Bill O'Brien. They fired their GM with him. I wonder if there wouldn't be some sort of fire sale that happens in Houston. We've seen J.J. Watt as a possible name that could be on the move. Obviously, that would be huge for any team that wants to pick up J.J. Watt at the deadline. But I wonder what it would take to pry away a guy like Will Fuller from Houston. He's younger. He's had some problems with injuries, and that's a red flag. But I just wonder if Houston is looking for draft capital, man. The Browns have 9 picks. The Browns traded back a couple times in the draft to accumulate extra 3rd round picks, 4th round picks. They obviously traded that extra 5th to Jacksonville for Ronnie Harrison. But I think getting involved on a guy like Will Fuller, like AJ Green, like Brashard Perriman would be the perfect patch for you wide receiver heads out there to fill the void of no OBJ in Cleveland. Let's get to one more receiver before I give you my takes on what I want to happen at this deadline. And let's go with the most realistic one, in my opinion, and that's Marvin Jones Jr. I don't know what to make of the Detroit Lions, other than Matt Patricia is probably going to get canned at the end of this season. I think I'm pretty comfortable going on the record and saying that the Detroit Lions aren't that impressive. They drafted DeAndre Swift, the back from Georgia, who I really like. But I think Marvin Jones Jr. is a name for Browns fans to look out for. And I know this sucks. You probably clicked on this looking forward to me hearing about Adam Thielen. And then I say Marvin Jones Jr. But I think that's kind of a realistic target. Marvin Jones Jr., Brashad Perriman, these are the type of guys that the Cleveland Browns need to be targeting. Because I think they're gonna jibe with that Odell and Landry duo and try to make the best of it. But I'm interested to see, like I said in the first segment before we came back from break, if you guys are just tuning in, without Odell Beckham Jr. in Cleveland, I'm curious to see what comes of Baker Mayfield. Does he progress? Does he regress? Because if he progresses and he looks good, that makes it a heck of a lot easier to replace one Odell Beckham Jr. as we move towards next season. Here's what I want to do at the deadline. November 3rd, big day, election. Then you got the deadline. I believe it's at 4 p.m. Kevin Stefanski in his press conference, kind of some neat stuff this week, and saying he was curious to see if teams kind of move up the deadline with so much of this work being done remotely. You know, you have the analytics staff that's remote, league-wide, limited amounts of people in team facilities. I wonder if the Browns and other teams around the league try to get deals done way before the buzzer. Like, I wonder if we don't have a run on trades the day before or really early in the morning on November 3rd, just so trades could get done. That's something to keep your eye out as well as this trade deadline approaches. But here's what I want to do, right? The Browns, the receivers are fun. Adam Thielen is fun. Heck, I know Marvin Jones is even a little bit of fun. Here's what I want. I want an all-world linebacker or safety. And I don't mean to be this guy, but you look at this Browns defense, right? I mean, give me a Deho. Stop it. Carl Joseph, really? Mac Wilson. I know this might ruffle some feathers out there in Cleveland, but really? Come on. Mac Wilson. Hear me out. This defense has Myles Garrett that's really good. The front four is good enough. Larry Ogunjobi, he's been a bit of a disappointment this year. Sheldon Richardson, he's taken a step forward. Olivier Vernon, we know what he is at this point, right? There's no surprises with Olivier Vernon anymore. He is who he is. I would like to see the Cleveland Browns, this team, get an all-world linebacker or safety. You have 9 draft picks. You have the capital to get her done. So go out there and get her done, man. I don't know who there is to go after. I know the big name free agents, yada, yada, yada. Clay Matthews' name goes around. J.J. Watt could be on the move as a linebacker / edge rusher. Those are the big name guys. I think Andrew Berry's strategy, though, with this team is going to be taking a shot and taking flyers on younger players that are controllable and players that are only going to cost you 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round, 7th round picks, like we saw with the Ronnie Harrison trade. And that was a good trade. You traded a 5th for Ronnie Harrison, who has proven to be one of the best safeties on the roster, probably the best safety on the roster for Cleveland. That's something that I would like to see Andrew Berry do as he, gets his hands dirty towards this deadline. We need some help on that defensive side of the ball. Miles needs some help. Those dudes, yeah, they need some help. So quickly, I wanted to touch on, before we get into, everything else with the NFL whip and whip around Week 8 of the NFL season. Quickly, I need to talk about this Trevor Lawrence thing. It was all over the national news today that Trevor Lawrence, we know the name, we know the face, we know the blonde, luscious hair, is likely the number 1 pick coming out of this draft. He seems like the surest thing since Andrew Luck, since Peyton Manning has drawn comparisons. We know that. We know he's playing at Clemson, all-world university. They're primed to make another run at the national championship in this coronavirus national, football or college football season. So today it comes out that Trevor Lawrence isn't sure that he's ready to leave Clemson, right? Oh, I'm not sure. We'll have to see. He's saying that he hasn't ruled out returning next year, and then that makes everybody's heads simultaneously turn to Adam Gase and the New York Jets. Like, Adam Gase and the New York Jets, this is a direct representation and a direct shot at you, my friends, because you are the dumpster fire of the league. You are the laughingstock. You are the presumed number one pick with 0 wins so far this season. You're Trevor Lawrence, and you are going to be a thing in April. So Stephen A. Smith goes on TV today and saying that Trevor Lawrence has one shot to go pro. You get one shot to play quarterback. And if you go to the Jets and they ruin you, that could be your only shot. And that's true. I understand that. But come on, let's not act like these number 1, these number 2, these number 3 overall draft picks that are juniors. These guys say this every year. This Trevor Lawrence quote of, "I'm not sure, I haven't ruled out returning to Clemson." I don't know if it's to appease the boosters. I don't know if he's instructed to do this to build some anticipation around the draft and about draft talk. But dudes say this every year. Chase Young said the same thing last year. How about Sam Darnold in the year that the Browns drafted Baker Mayfield? Sam Darnold was threatening to return to USC or threatening to hold out if the Browns drafted him. Allegedly was Josh Rosen. We go through this song and dance every year. Guys, Trevor Lawrence ain't going back to Clemson. He's a lot better than Justin Herbert, who made the decision to go back to Oregon to dodge the draft. And he's in a good situation with the Los Angeles Chargers. It worked out for Justin Herbert. But for Trevor Lawrence, come on, man. This guy is the surefire number 1 pick. He's going to make tens of millions of dollars as a kid in his early 20s. He's going to the National Football League, even if it's the Jets. That might not be the worst thing in the world. The Jets are going to fire Gase. They're going to fire Greg Williams. They're going to fire Joe Douglas. They're going to clean house. And it's going to be okay. That could be a quick turnaround in New York. I know they're having the fire sale right now. They got some pieces on that defense. Quinnen Williams, he's a little bit of a player. The safeties that they got there, they're not bad. They traded away Jamal Adams. But listen, you fire Adam Gase, he's the issue. You fire Joe Douglas for sure. I would probably fire Joe Douglas before I fire Adam Gase, as we have a comment from Dave that said Sam Darnold would love to go back to USC right now. Yeah, looking at the weather in New York and looking at the weather in Cali, just based off that, even if we're ignoring, the fact that Sam Darnold plays on the Jets, I'm sure he would love to go back to USC right now. But this quote, let's not get all bent out of shape about it. Overall, grand scheme of things, it means nothing. So time for the NFL Whip presented by BigPlay.com. Big Play is your number 1 source for live interactive sports talk almost every night of the week. You guys got to check them out. Best way to do that is on Twitter at BigPlay_com. You can watch shows that stream live just like this one and talk with some of the coolest, most unique hosts that the city of Cleveland and even Baltimore national, fantasy football, all that stuff. BigPlay_com is the best way to do that. This is the segment where we will whip around the NFL Week 8. I'll give you my locks of the week. And let's get right into this as I pull up the ESPN tab with Thursday Night Football, where we are in South Carolina as the Panthers play host to the Atlanta Falcons. I think this is an easy game for me to pick. So this feels like a Thursday Night Football game. Panthers are likely to be without Christian McCaffrey. Personally, for my fantasy team, I need a big day out of Mike Davis. I need Christian McCaffrey to be out for this one more week. I'm going to give this one to the Carolina Panthers, man. I've been riding them all season. In Matt Rule, we trust. Kevin Stefanski up here in Cleveland, where this show is hosted, he's done a fantastic job as a rookie head coach. He has the best record of the rookie head coaches. But, man, I think Matt Rule is also a really good head coach. He turned around Baylor. He turned around another college program. Give me Carolina on Thursday Night Football. We head to Bills Stadium of Orchard Park in Buffalo, New York, where the Bills play host to the New England Football Patriots. And I worry about Bill and what's going on in Foxborough, what's happening in Boston with those New England Patriots. I think Buffalo bounces back. I've heard the talk this week that they're fool's gold. They're not what we thought they were. They don't have the most complete roster in football. I think Brian Daboll's a good coach. I think Josh Allen is a good quarterback. And I worry about the New England Patriots heading into this one. Give me 2 in a row, picking both home teams. Give me Buffalo at home over Bill Belichick and those New England Patriots. We head to Cincinnati, right here in Ohio, as the Bengals host the Tennessee Titans. Give me the Fighting Vrabels in this one. Joe Burrow has shown me a lot of good stuff as the starting quarterback for Cincinnati, but I think in this one, it's going to be too much Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill, career resurgence. We know the big headlines in there. A guy to watch out for in Tennessee with the Titans is A.J. Brown. He offers their offense a lot of unique stuff. I'm curious to see how that shakes out. So as we continue to whip around the NFL, we head to Detroit as the Lions will host the Indianapolis Colts. I think big day out of the Colts here. This game is really the who cares versus the who cares. I'm not going to give you a whole in-depth analysis, especially since this NFL whip business is in 15 minutes or less. So we head to Green Bay, where you have a big NFC North matchup as Aaron Rodgers and the Packers take on Minnesota Vikings and what's left of that Minnesota team, because, man, I know there's some people up north that are calling for Mike Zimmer's job and are hoping that the Minnesota Vikings fail this week. Give me the Packers in this one. You see the guy, you see the man right up there. He's a bad, bad man. The Aaron Rodgers screw you tour is so fun. I feel like I talk about this every week, where the Packers just do something to pee off Aaron Rodgers, and it's just a weekly. I have so much fun. I'm filled with so much joy watching this man play football, and especially in a divisional game. I think Rodgers is going to rise to the occasion. I want Green Bay big. I don't know what the spread is on this. Give me Green Bay all day, where we head to Arrowhead Stadium. And oh boy, this is going to be a long one for those New York Football Jets, who head to Kansas City, Missouri to do battle with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. In the Chiefs' past game, man, Patrick Mahomes barely got on the field. It was the Chiefs' defense. It was Tyrann Mathieu, couple interceptions, a couple huge sacks. The Chiefs' offense, special teams, they had a hard time getting that offense on the field because the defense was playing so well. And I think that's going to be the case here. Sam Darnold, NFL career has just been turnover bit. It's the same thing that he's showed us at USC. It was the same reason that I didn't want him to be the quarterback of my beloved Cleveland Browns. The New York Jets should probably be like 35-point underdogs in this game. They're on the road. They're in Kansas City against the Super Bowl champions Chiefs, who they've hit bumps in the road, but they look like they're gearing right up for championship form. This could be one of the ugliest games that we've seen in the National Football League in a really long time. Again, give me the Chiefs in this one. Big. We head to Hard Rock Stadium. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, it's Tua time. It is Tua time in Miami. That brings the biggest smile to my face, as well as on the inside, it kind of crumbles me. I'm a big Ryan Fitzpatrick guy. I think Fitzmagic, that's all really fun. I love when, the quarterback gets hurt and you're like, oh, the season's screwed. And then Ryan Fitzpatrick comes in and just brings life right back into the whole freaking thing. But having Tua as a lefty quarterback that's going to be starting for the Miami Dolphins that have, like the Browns, been tortured for a really long time, that's going to be an exciting game. However, I think Tua's debut is just going to fall short of a win. I think what they have going over there in LA with the Rams, Sean McVay and company, they're gearing for championship form. We were able to see it this week on national TV. The Rams look really, really good. I mean, they don't even need Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods to have their best games to win a lot of the time. They don't have a big name running back either. They use Darrell Henderson. They use Cam Akers. They use Malcolm Brown, who was a beast on national TV. And I think the Rams are going to win this one on the road in Miami. We head to right back here in our AFC North as the Baltimore Ravens in Maryland host the unbeaten Pittsburgh Steelers. This is such a hard game for me to pick because in this pick'em segment, I have so badly not wanted to pick a tie. But man, I want both of these teams to lose so bad. I think best case scenario for this game is that getting off the plane, the team, as they're following each other off the plane, has like a domino fall down the stairs, and they all on both sides, both planes, crash into each other, tumble down the steps, and they have to forfeit the game due to too many stubbed toes in Baltimore because, oh God, this has such implications on how the playoffs are going to look, how the division is going to look. But boy, give me Baltimore at home. Pittsburgh's taking their first loss. I can't pick a tie. Give me the Ravens at home. We head to Denver, where Drew Lock and what's left of the Broncos, they haven't impressed me at all this season, host Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers. Herbert's rookie season has been exciting. He's shown me things that really make me invest in him as a franchise quarterback. He's really exciting to watch. He throws the hell out of the football. Man, that guy throws for like 300-400 yards every time he laces up the cleats. That's definitely a 405 game that I'm going to have my eyes on, just because so far in his rookie season, whenever Justin Herbert is on TV, he's a whole lot of fun. So I'm going to pick the Chargers on the road, going up to the high altitude. I don't want to hear about all that. Give me the Chargers. Give me Herbert in this one before we head to Soldier Field in Chicago, where the Bears and the Monsters of the Midway host Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints, who are likely without Emmanuel Sanders, who are likely without Michael Thomas. Again, Michael Thomas has played one quarter of football this season. That's maddening, again, for my fantasy team and other Michael Thomas owners out there. I'm sure you're frustrated by that as well. But as an Ohio State fan as well, it's frustrating not to see Michael Thomas out there with the Saints. But to me, when you look at 5-2 teams, the Browns are 5-2, Bears 5-2 now after that loss on national TV. The Bears showed me on primetime that they are the definition of fool's gold. I don't know what in the world is going on there. Their head coach looks clueless. They have no quarterback. I love Mentor Mitch. He's from Ohio. He's from Cleveland. Mentor guy. I love Mitch. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl MVP, but he surely doesn't look like it. Put on a blindfold. Somebody gets eye surgery done for the first time, and they're able to watch football for the first time, and you tell them that Nick Foles won a Super Bowl MVP, they'd be like, man, this sport ain't any fun at all. Give me the Saints in this one without Emmanuel Sanders, without Michael Thomas, without their offensive weapons, because dude, the Bears just suck. They might be the worst 5-2 team of all time. They have a good defense, but not enough for me to get excited about. Give me the Saints on the road against Chicago, where we head to CenturyLink Field in Seattle, where the Seahawks and the resurgence of Dangerous Russell Wilson and his MVP candidacy will host the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers just can't stay healthy. The second they get one of their plethora of running backs back and healthy, he fizzles away. Also, Russell Wilson just looks all world right now. Him and Tyler Lockett were unstoppable on Sunday Night Football. I mean, hell, Tyler Lockett had all those touchdowns. DK Metcalf didn't even touch the ball. We didn't even mention Chris Carson is hurt, and I think that does hurt Seattle. They just traded for Carlos Dunlap. There's going to be some guys on that defensive interior for Seattle that are going to be a little peed off. Dunlap probably isn't going to play on Sunday, so I look for a better performance at home out of that defense and just a better offensive performance overall than we saw on Sunday Night Football. I think they bounced back from that loss to the Cardinals, and they handled their business at home against the 49ers. Let's get to Sunday Night Football. I have a huge problem with this game. I love Sunday Night Football. There's nothing that I like more than staying up till, 11, midnight. Yeah, even if you want to push it into 1 a.m. if you're watching Scott Van Pelt on after the game with his interviews and his fun there. I love Sunday Night Football. But NFL, ESPN, my employers, my great employers at ESPN, what are you doing to me with this game? The Dallas Cowboys go to Philly to play the Eagles? Nobody wants to watch that. That game's going to be horrible, man. I don't want to watch Carson Wentz versus Ben DiNucci. I'll give him credit, though. And I'm going to pick the Dallas Cowboys on the road because Ben DiNucci and the Fighting Italian Cowboys are going to invade Philadelphia and Carson Wentz, who could be replaced by Jalen Hurts. And Dallas is going into this game and winning. Ben DiNucci, buddy, I don't know the first thing about you. I know that with a last name like DiNucci, you and I probably have shared the same handful of meals throughout our entire childhoods. So, my friend, I'm pulling for you. Jerry Jones, I'm pulling for you. I like you as an owner, but man, the Cowboys are a dumpster fire. That division is a mess. The Eagles suck. I'm picking Ben DiNucci, though, and waving my green, white, and red flag the whole way. How about them Cowboys? How about Ben DiNucci? Yeah, Sunday Night Football. Oh, jeez, I'm not looking forward to that. Last game, at home, First Energy Stadium, Cleveland Browns versus the Vegas Raiders. Give me the Browns. Give me the Browns. The Vegas Raiders have to go, halfway across the country. That's always tough. In the midst of a global pandemic, it makes it even harder. It's going to be chilly on Sunday. There's a chance of rain, chance of snow on Monday. Maybe that snow front could move in for Sunday's game. I'm picking the Browns. I think it's going to be a shootout, but this Browns offense is too talented, and they're going to just outplay those Vegas Raiders. Thanks to everybody for hanging out, man. This was the NFL Whip. What a fantastic hour of Padone My Take. I hope you guys had a great time because I know I did. I have some fantastic, fun guests planned, so you guys don't want to miss out on any of this. For the bye week, we're going to change things up with these guests, and you're going to have so much fun. We're going Hollywood, is Padone My Take. Huge thanks to everybody. Thanks to Dugout Mugs. DugoutMugs.com/Padone is the place to be. Next Wednesday, same bad time, same bad channel. We'll see you when we see ya.